Hello, everyone. I wanted to talk about a subject today. Back in my day, we used to have a phrase: if life gives you lemons, make lemonade. This isn't about lemonade, the beverage. This is about how everything in the world has become disposable. When I was growing up, we had an apple tree in the backyard. It's an interesting story. One of my uncles, when he was growing up, threw an apple core out there and the apple tree grew. Now, in my own yard, I have 3 apple trees. I've only ever produced apples on one. It took years to produce those apples. Now, because they come in so small, I didn't really ever take the time to nurture the tree. I just let it grow wild. The deer come and eat it, and I'm fine with that. I don't need to have the apples for myself. But back then, my grandmother made applesauce with those apples off of her tree every single fall. And my grandfather would take a big bucket or two and a ladder, and he would get up there and I would help him pick those apples. And then my grandmother showed me how to cut the apples, core the apples, and make the applesauce. And these were never giant apples. These were like small apples. And we still managed to get enough applesauce to feed the family on a Sunday feast. There is one grocery store in town here that takes bruised fruit, or fruit that's not exactly perfect, and they package it up and they sell it on a clearance bin. And I go to that bin every time I'm in that store because you can get some terrific finds in there. You can find peaches, apples, oranges, cucumbers, tomatoes, bananas, pears, anything in the fruit and produce section that has gone by a little or has a bruise. They usually mark these packages down from anywhere from 75 cents to $2, depending on what it is. And they're usually stocked full of the items. Sometimes they mix them up. Sometimes it's the same thing in the package. But what I noticed is if there's ever a piece of fruit out there on the counter and it has a slight bruise and I'm over there picking my way through the Honeycrisps, I don't care if it has a bruise on it. I'll buy that apple. It doesn't bother me at all. But another customer will say, "Isn't that a shame? Look at that nasty apple. I'm not buying that. I'm not bringing that home." And I'm like, what's the difference? It's just a bruised apple. They're all kind of bruised. Nothing's perfect in this world. They all are kind of bruised. Personally, I wouldn't want a perfect piece of fruit. If I had a piece of fruit that was perfect, I would think it was not grown in an orchard. And I grew up on a farm. We had fresh vegetables. Every apple we picked off that tree was bruised, but it was still delicious and it was good. And we made applesauce. And that's what I'm talking about, the times today. And I'm not picking on anybody who doesn't want to eat bruised fruit. I don't blame you. I'm just saying. Today, what we consider disposable was once upon a time all that we had. We didn't have these super Walmarts. We didn't have these mega grocery stores. We had small town, intimate grocery stores that had about 6 aisles. They had everything we needed in there for everybody in town, and you went and you got your groceries and you had just enough for the week. Today we have so many choices, and that can be a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing. I think the world today has gotten accustomed to perfection. Even though as human beings we're not perfect, we have started to get away from that simple life of taking a lemon and making lemonade, and we have everything done for us. Everything is packaged for us. For example, a coffee shop. I didn't have a coffee shop around me when I was growing up. It wasn't until I was around a teenager that they started populating our town. There was nothing like a nice coffee back in the day with some crushed ice in a styrofoam cup, a straw, a lid, and that creamy, sugary iced coffee. I did enjoy that back then. Now, there is a Dunkin' or Starbucks on every street corner around here. You don't have to walk a block and you're at your next one. So if you drink down that iced coffee, by the time you get to the next block, if it's a 90-degree day, you can have yourself another one. It's great. It works out. But what I'm saying is that wasn't the way back in my day. We didn't grow up like that. If we wanted iced coffee, we had to learn to make it ourselves. My grandmother had a way of making poor man's coffee, and there was like a syrup back then. They put the syrup in the coffee, and it wasn't corn syrup, it was some other flavored syrup. They would put the syrup with the coffee, and it was mostly milk. So us kids thought we were drinking coffee. But today in 2026, It's even gone beyond the coffee shop in every corner. Now you can walk into any grocery store, any Walmart, and you can find your iced coffee from your favorite coffee shop, prepackaged in a bottle, extra cream and sugar, sitting there on a shelf waiting for you. Or you can go to the creamer section and you can find their creamer brand in a bottle ready for you so you can make your own iced coffee at home. Now we do make iced coffee here. I make it the old-fashioned way. I take the ground coffee, I put it in my coffee pot, and then I brew it and put it in the fridge. That's how we make our iced coffee, and then anybody that wants a cup can make their own flavoring or additions to it, like cream, sugar, whatever you want. We didn't have all of these pre-packaged goodies growing up. And I think that's to my point about we no longer make lemonade from lemons. It's too convenient. It's too easy. I think we forgot how to start with the basics. There were plenty of examples in our pantry back in the 80s that my grandmother would take and make something out of because it was going by or it was expiring. One of those such things was banana pudding. Does anybody remember banana pudding? I never really learned how to make it good, so I don't know that if I ever made it for my kids. If I didn't, I think they kind of missed out. Banana pudding was delicious. My granny, not my grandmother, but my great-grandmother, she would take those vanilla pudding boxes. At the time, they were probably 19 cents a box. And she would make the pudding, and I think it was instant. So I think it was like milk. I don't know what else they put in there, but it was on the box, how you made it. And she would layer that. She had a bowl, and she would put the pudding down, and then she would slice up the bananas and layer that. And then she would take vanilla wafer cookies, and she would put that there in a layer. And then she would do the pudding, bananas, vanilla wafers. And this kept going, and it was a stacked layer of goodness. So when my grandmother went and did the shopping and bought the bananas, once they started turning brown, that's what we did. We looked forward to it. We made the banana pudding because the bananas were going by. And nowadays, like I'm saying, everything seems like it's just disposable. We don't see the value in anything that's not perfect. We don't see the value in making the applesauce from the bruised apple or making the banana pudding from bananas that are just starting to go by. The other extreme to this, there have been a couple of times I went into a store. See, this is why I order for pickup and go and have it delivered to my car. Because there have actually been a couple of times where people have done things in the store that I just can't believe I'm seeing or hearing. My grandfather had a saying, believe half of what you see and none of what you hear. That was his saying when I was growing up. The things that I see and hear now, I just don't believe it myself, even though I'm seeing it and hearing it. Twice now, I have seen customers in a retail store. Most stores have a return policy. Some stores let you return anything for any reason. Some stores don't even want a reason. Just return it. Return policies at some stores are pretty generous, I think. No questions asked, just return it for any reason. I've actually seen customers that bring something back and will say, I really liked this bud vase, but when I got it home, I checked it over with a magnifying glass and I saw a little tiny imperfection in it. It did have a design note, so with the naked eye, you couldn't see that bubble. With the naked eye, you were just looking at this piece of glass and you were just looking at it and it looked beautiful. But because the customer took a magnifying glass to it, she found that little bubble and wanted to return it. Oh no. Times have changed. And I can appreciate that. And I can appreciate the changes that come along with it. I've lived enough generations and decades to know things always change. Nothing ever stays the same. And that's fine. But time is not on our side. Time is not on our side. I've been seeing YouTube videos about how people think time is going faster. It seems like time is going faster. It seems like time is speeding up. And my advice is step back and enjoy the moments. People are missing out on the moments now because they're too busy studying that bruised fruit or passing it by because they want perfection. And here's another example of that. Think about the AI in the world today. What is AI? Artificial intelligence. It's not real people. It's perfect. And that's the scary part to me, that we're living in a time where lemons don't matter anymore. These bruised apples are disposable. We're living in a time where perfection is becoming increasingly valuable, but real is becoming disposable. It's sad to me to think people are actually inspecting things in an extreme way. If a piece of fruit, for example, is completely bruised, then yes, the produce manager should switch it out for a fresher piece. Either throw it away if it's too bad, or, like I said, package it in one of those clearance packages because somebody will buy that. When we've become the magnifying generation and we're seeking perfection to the point we're actually using a magnifying glass to inspect what we buy, then I think it's time to get real. And I think it's time to keep a pocket mirror. Take it out every once in a while. And remember who you are. Take a good look in that mirror. Remember who you are and that nobody is perfect. Because if you live your life seeking perfection, you're gonna miss out on that ice cold glass of lemonade. Don't live your life seeking flawlessness behind rosy colored glasses, because instead you might find disappointment. Strive for joy, and next time you have a bruised apple in your kitchen, bake it with some walnuts and brown sugar, or use those bananas going by for a nice banana pudding. Embrace your flaws and imperfections around you in the world and strive for joy. Thank you so much for watching today. Take care.